Hello everyone and welcome to Arguments Mapped. I was inspired to make this channel by conversations I had in a critical thinking class. Part of the reason I feel a channel like this could be beneficial is because critical thinking and argument mapping specifically really don't get enough attention online. There really are next to no videos on YouTube talking about argument mapping, and when it comes to videos applying these techniques, I couldn't find any. The other reason I think a channel like this could be helpful is because of what the online debate sphere has become. I'm not at all opposed to people consuming debates as content. In fact, I quite support it, but I take issue with where the focus is in these communities. The focus these communities have is on the spectacle of the debate. People want to see one side or another get quote-unquote owned. They want to see emotions flare and they want to root for the home team. This is all right in moderation. Rhetoric is an area of study for a reason, and to say emotion has no place in debate would be to deny the nature of debate in itself. But I feel like the online conception of debate really loses focus of what we should keep in mind when trying to have productive debate. The focus is always on tearing someone else down or bolstering oneself, and never about furthering a discourse, refining ideas by pitting them against each other. What I want to do with this channel is provide a fun way to learn about argument mapping and critical thinking, as well as try to steer the debate sphere in a more productive direction. Even a slight shift would be enough for me, but I would love to see it catch on, and I'm excited to see where all this goes. So let's talk about what I plan to do with this channel. What we're going to be doing on this channel is argument mapping. I want to start off by covering some of the classic debates that we have on video. Biting from the critical thinking course I took in college, I think arguments about God can actually be a great place to start. I remember being skeptical at first in class when the first arguments we dissected were ontological questions concerning God's existence, as I know there are lots of people who have strong opinions on such a topic, myself included, and I was afraid that that might cloud the discourse. But in good faith, those arguments were actually extremely productive to dissect as a class, and I want to carry that spirit over to this channel. I also want to help others improve in seeing through rhetoric, and I think a lot of the public debates on this topic have had lots of rhetoric to unpack. I'm thinking of doing a grand tour of sorts of the so-called New Atheist movement to see if they actually added anything to the discourse. I know I was once persuaded into finding some of those arguments more profound than they actually were, and I think it could be helpful to walk through some of those debates and see if we can glean some actual value from them. Of course, I don't want this channel to be only about ontological arguments for God. I think a lot of modern political debate could do with being put under the lens, and I want to spend some time covering the modern debate bro movements, doing a similar thing. We can do a tour of all the modern sophists, the Ben Shapiros, the Christopher Hitchens, the Jordan Petersons, etc. Now, I don't want to be spending all my time on things of that nature. I am a philosophy student at my university, and I think covering some of the philosophical discussions and arguments could be good as well. It's important to note that argument mapping is not reserved to analysis or discussion between two individuals. Most of philosophy and politics can be formulated in an argument map, regardless of the presence of a dialogue. Some of the ones I'm thinking of covering are Sapolsky's free will argument, Zapp's antinatalism argument, Sartre's existentialism argument, and then for arguments amongst philosophers, Aristotle versus Plato, Kierkegaard versus Heidegger, de Beauvoir versus Butler, and then we can get into even more cutting-edge stuff, like trying to make heads or tails of the quote-unquote new right philosophers that have been cropping up in recent decades. Lastly, I do also want to provide a resource by unpacking modern political debates to the best of my abilities, so I'd like to cover things like presidential debates as well. I think I've listed off a good deal of things that I plan to do at this channel, and I think I've overstayed my welcome for an introductory video. So I'll leave the video here. I certainly have my work cut out for me. If you're interested in what I'm doing here, I would appreciate sharing a video or two with some friends once I get some up. Also, feel free to suggest anything that you want to see argument mapped. And yeah, I hope to have you along for the ride. Thanks for watching.